All right, good evening, everyone. It's great to know so many of you out there. For this evening tonight, we'd love to do it in person, but like so much at the moment, we've got to adapt and we've got to do the best we can with what we've got. So we've put this event on virtually. We still think you'll get all of the information you need, but it is a good chance tonight to share more about the school. There'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions. You do that, there's a Q&A box at the top or the bottom of your tab. So at any point in the night, if you would like to ask a question, please type it in, and then at the end, we'll wrap all of those questions up. So it's a warm welcome from us. It's a great evening to be able to share lots more about the school. We really hope your sons have settled in well. And tonight is a chance, like I said, to ask some questions, but also get some answers. And the first thing I would like to do is hand over to our headmaster, and he will start proceedings tonight with a welcome, and then we'll get into some of the academic and co-curricular parts of the night as well. So sit back, enjoy it, and this will be recorded if you want to go over anything as well. But for now, we'll hand over to Mr. Ferguson, our headmaster. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Tēnā koutou katoa, nau mai haere mai whakatau mai. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in tonight. As Andrew said, ordinarily we'd be in the auditorium now with a few hundred people there doing this in person, but we didn't want to put this off. We wanted to still make it happen. So another welcome to our school. I hope the term's started well. We're into week 4. As you'll know, and you'll have heard from your son, it's different. But it's also, we've got used to it over the last couple of years anyway. So the disruption's nothing new. I guess we're working out how we can work with the new rules, and we're doing our best to adapt to what we need to do. We've written to you earlier this evening with some information about what to do if you are, if your son's identified as a contact of some sort, etc. So there's some important information there for you to have a look through in terms of what the next few days and weeks might look like. We've got a healthy supply of rapid antigen tests in the school, and if necessary, your sons will be able to get access to that. We will contact you first, of course, but we're hoping that's just going to help us keep things running as smoothly as possible. Again, ordinarily, we'd have had our house hacker event by now. The boys would have done some house athletics and swimming, but we're just not able to do them at the moment. So some of those early events at the start of the year aren't the same as usual, but there's still lots going on, and it's still been a great start to the year. We're full. We tipped over 2,500 this year. We've got enough space. We've created a lot of outdoor space anyway, so it doesn't feel too crowded. And it's great that attendance has been really strong. It's consistently been well over 90%. So it's good that you're feeling okay about your sons being here, and we're doing our very best to make it as safe as possible. Last year, despite the disruption, we ended the year with the boys achieving incredibly well as far as their exam results were concerned. Our best ever pass rates at NCA, 99, 97 and 98 at the 3 respective levels. So amazing that boys and teachers could still show determination and resilience and get there with their results despite the disruption of last year. And then at the very top level, our scholarship results were again our best ever. We've ended up with, we're one of only 2 schools that's ever achieved more than 200 of those. So we're delighted that the boys and staff managed to achieve 225 scholarship passes. 2 of our boys are in the top 12 students in the country. We've got 8 in total in the overall top group. So to have more than any other school is something that we're pretty proud of with those very top performers. The transition into high school. So I'm speaking about the year 9 specifically. We know it's not a straightforward one. The more your sons are talking to you at the moment about how it's going, obviously the better, but I want to just reassure you that it is something that we take really seriously. We invest heavily in it. We've got a very finely tuned, carefully planned program that we take very seriously, because for us and for you, obviously, if your son's not happy, he's not going to learn. So we focus on making sure they're settled, happy, and then we're hoping that they can get down to learning as soon as possible. But we don't underestimate the enormity of that challenge. Coming to a new school and having, in some cases, 10 or 12 teachers instead of one teacher is a massive difference to intermediate school. So we'll keep working as hard as we can on that, and that's, as it is with your son's education generally, it's very much a partnership between home and school, and the more you can keep in touch with us, the better, if you do have any concerns at all. As far as our communication is concerned, we will, we don't write to you too often. We would always obviously do it by email. We put a newsletter out every Friday. It's called the Green Stripe Blazer. That's also posted on the website. Our daily notices are all on the website. Our social media is pretty active, so you get a good chance there to see some of the things that have been going on in school. So by all means, follow us there as well. But we do welcome your feedback. There's a section at the end of the Green Stripe Blazer where you can get in touch with us. We're going to be surveying the whole community soon with a baseline survey at the start of the year, just to get a sense as to how you're feeling about school generally and the start of the academic year. For now, though, we're just trying to get the boys, as I'm sure you are, settled into routines, getting used to the new structure of the day, finding their way around school. Similarly, at home, I think the more they can get into routines early, the better, and it should make things easier. Just something we posted on Facebook yesterday, just to give you insight into some of the work we're doing this year. We wanted to try and have some key words around the campus which might give the boys a sense of focus and the ability to help them set some goals and targets for the year, with the knowledge that we know 2022 is going to be another different and potentially difficult and complicated year ahead. And what we looked at was a theme of the boys looking after each other, looking out for one another. And we've used the word, give me a second, I'm trying. Right, we're not getting a second. I'm trying to move on to the next slide, but I can't. Next one, thank you. Right. Yeah, so obviously the word Westlake's there with care running through the middle of it, because the boys looking after each other and our job as well to care for them, but focusing on character, courage, and culture as far as the C's are concerned. I won't go through this in too much detail, but these are just words that we hope the boys can draw inspiration from. We know attendance is important. We still want them to be aspirational so they can achieve. And we expect that they are going to have to show resilience and, as I mentioned earlier, the importance of routines. And just to reinforce how important relationships are for boys, we know boys are relational learners. That means that the more a teacher can get to know the boys, the more progress they are going to make. And we finish with these words. Excellence is something we talk about a lot here, as our expectations, but we put exercise in because we obviously believe the more the boys are looking after each other, the easier it's going to be to get through this year. So that's just an insight into some of the images that the boys might be seeing around the school at the moment. I'll stop there for now. There's a bit of information we want to get across to you, but from me, the best bit of advice I can give your sons is to have a great attitude and work hard, and they'll tend to do incredibly well here if they get those two things right. So shame to not see you in person. Nice to see you virtually. I look forward to getting to know all the new parents, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. So what I thought we would do tonight, I'm going to spend the first part of tonight talking about connection and belonging. We feel, and from the research we've done and the neuroscience we look at and a whole range of things, we know that if boys feel connected to our school and if they feel like they belong, then the chance that they're going to succeed is obviously a lot higher. So that will be two running themes throughout tonight. We really passionately believe that they're so important, and you'll see that come through. I'm going to talk a little bit about our pastoral care system. I'm going to hand over to Mrs. O'Graham, who's in charge of curriculum, and then I'll finish off with a bit of co-curricular advice as well. So what I want to show you here is we've got a lot of people who their job is to care for your son. Their job is to help them. The job is to make them settle in as best they can and always be a point of contact. So this diagram in front of you shows all of our deans. So obviously your sons are predominantly in year 9 on this call tonight. So Mr. Jones, Mr. Pearson and myself, we look after year 9. And how that looks in real terms, I would meet Mr. Jones and Mr. Pearson every day. I'd be checking in with them every day. They'd be getting feedback from teachers. They'd be getting feedback from boys. They'd be getting feedback from our attendance officer, all different areas. And they make themselves a central point of contact and a central focus for the boys. So it wouldn't be uncommon that your boys would see their dean quite frequently. And then they can have those conversations with them. And if there is issues, 9 times out of 10, the deans can probably solve those or be part of the solution. If they can't, then they'd be making some referrals to some people, most of which are on the bottom of this diagram. So we've got a head of our learning center, phenomenal guy, brilliant, working with our learning center students, all the way through to our dean of mentoring and transition. We've got Mr. Butler, in charge of guidance and counseling. So there's a real sense of wraparound care for your sons. We know they are the most precious thing in your world and you would do anything for them. And we're hoping that we can mirror some of that attitude with the amount of resource we put into this. So that's a lot about our pastoral care. What we've got for parents, because we know that, coming to a big, busy, active school, there's a lot going on. And it's also a time in their lives when things are changing, neurologically, hormonally. There's a lot going on in their brains and with their bodies. So we want to kind of be proactive with that as well. This section of the website, I've hyperlinked all of these things on the PowerPoint, and we're going to send the PowerPoint out. If you click on that hyperlink, these are some of the key topics that we hear from parents a lot that they want advice and guidance with. Some of these have been written by staff in school from their own experience. Some we've sourced from external researchers and best practice from around the world. So if you feel at any point that you need a bit of help or advice with any of these topics on here, you can see bullying, gaming, resilience, anger, grief, loss, all of those things. Hopefully that will be a useful start point for you. It might not give you all of the answers, but it will certainly start a conversation with your sons and also point you in the right direction of where to next. So that's something specifically that we built in for parents. As well as that, I'll put a link to our YouTube page. We tried during the lockdown, the last one, to speak to some experts across the world, experts in teenage boys, and all of those chats, they range from 20 minutes to about an hour. They're all on the YouTube page as well. They're actually really good to watch with your son and ask them questions and pause it and have a bit of a conversation with them. So I urge you to look at this part of the website and look at that YouTube page as well and take all you can from that. But really it is about us making sure your son is connected, feels like he belongs, and is happy to come here. If he's happy and he's smiling and to come here, smiling might be a stretch some days, but we'll try and aim for it as best we can. But if they're happy and settled, they're going to enjoy being in class. If they get to know their teachers, they're going to enjoy their lessons. If they get involved with sport, they're going to enjoy representing the school. If they're performing on stage, in music, it all helps. So year 9 is a year when they can give everything a go. They don't have to specialize in a particular area. They don't have any external exams for a couple of years. We want them to try everything that's on offer, get everything done, and then they can make some decisions later on. So that's a little bit about pastoral system and what we're doing for parents. Hopefully to help. And then these two things that are in front of you now, the one on the top left you can see called Stymie. This is something we brought into the school very recently in the last year or so. And this is a way for your sons to let us know if they feel their mates or themselves are involved with any sort of harm or they need some care and guidance. And it's an anonymous system. So boys can log on to stymie.co.nz. I did a presentation to all of year 9 now. So if you ask them about Stymie, they will know about it. They log on to the system. They don't put their name, obviously it's anonymous, but they can give us some information about their friends, because we know that it's sometimes hard for them to speak up. We know that it's very difficult if they know something's not going right for one of their mates to actually step in. So we're asking, this platform allows them not necessarily to step in, but to step back, and then they can step up. And if they can step back and step up through this system, they can alert us to anything harmful, anything the boys are experiencing that's not positive, and then we can intervene. And we would normally say to your son, hey, someone cares enough to make a STYMI referral for you, let's have a chat. And then some of our best work is done when we have that relationship with the boys. So we would urge them to use it anytime they feel there's harm or negativity that they want us to get involved with. On the bottom right, those graphics, they're from something called an app that we brought in for years 9 and 10 called Pulse. Pulse is a well-being tracker. We know that if the boys are sleeping well, if they're eating well, if they're emotionally feeling secure, if they're getting their homework done, if they're in good routines, etc., then things are going to go pretty well. When that isn't the case, or when the boys are possibly having a wobble with some of that criteria, then we can intervene. So Pulse is something every Thursday, the boys get sent an email to their school email account, and they answer 5 questions. So there's about 500 questions, but the system randomly selects 5, and they answer those questions on a sliding scale. The answers they give are fed through to their tutor, because every boy is in a tutor group. Their tutor gets a breakdown of that particular class. So tutor groups are between 16 to 18 boys. Boys form a really strong relationship with their tutor. The tutor doesn't get the individual name of the boy who put the score, but they get, as you can see on the graphic, a trend for how their class is tracking, and they can track that over time. So for example, in a given week, if the question about sleep, if we feel that that really drops off, then it gives the tutor a chance to get access to some resources and maybe talk to your sons about adequate sleep, or it could be diet or exercise or whatever it may be. So it's really important that there's a distinction between these two things. STYMI is an anonymous tool, reporting tool for harm. Pulse is something around well-being, where we really want the boys to be proactive with their check-ins. The boys themselves, they get all of the data that they input, so they can actually track themselves over time. They can have a look back, and possibly if there's some anxiety around, say, for example, exam period, then they can chat with their tutor about how they're feeling. So these are 2 brand new things, relatively brand new things were brought in. Pulse is brand new this year. And we now know that we can utilize some really good technology and bring some of this stuff to the fore. We know how important their well-being is. It's a central core of why we exist as a school. And we're just asking that they can be open and honest with us, and in turn, we can provide them with the support that they need. So that's 2 important things. And yeah, the boys know about them. They've had assemblies pertaining to them. So you could probably have a chat about that. And then just a couple of other things, what we would consider probably to be our basics, but they're really the bedrock of what makes this school so good. So uniform and appearance, we do expect the boys to be wearing their uniform correctly, and their full uniform every day. So their shirt, their tie, their blazer in terms 2 and 3. In terms 1 and 4, that's a compulsory option, with the weather being a little bit warmer. And then their shorts, their socks, their shoes. That's their uniform. We want them to wear it, and wear it with pride. It really helps build that sense of connection and belonging. And then that picture you can see there below you with those boys with lots of badges on their blazer, they're given in recognition of some positive things, academia, sport, culture, etc. So when that blazer is put on and they wear it with pride, and then they can see kind of those badges grow with them, and they accumulate those badges, it's a real powerful message that we send to the boys. So how they look every day is important to us. Similarly, things with like their hair needs to be cut to the correct specifications. All that's on the website, and their jewelry and all that is on there as well. So that's uniform and appearance. What we really want to do, and we every year, but this year is no different. Respect and manners really does go a long way in this school. If they're saying good morning, hello sir, hello miss, holding a door for a teacher, and they're being respectful and well-mannered, it makes a massive difference to the way that they feel connected to the school. And they'll get a lot of respect, and they'll get a lot of kudos back for that. So we want them to be able to go into the world with qualifications, and really have a strong academic background, but that means little, I suppose, if they're not able to communicate positively, use their manners, and be respectful. And it's something that we really want to push, and I'm sure it's something you'd like to see at home as well. So we will assist with that as much as possible, and the boys can certainly take accountability for that as well. And the last bullet point before we move on is just about attendance and punctuality. Mr. Ferguson's mentioned it. We expect them to be here every day. We expect them to be on time every day, following their timetable, not missing any classes. Our attendance is very, very strong in the school. Despite take out last year's lockdown, attendance is well into the 95, 96%. And those boys who are absent, who make up that other 4 or 5%, generally, we know about the reasons why, and that's really important. So at any point when they're sick, obviously they're not going to come to school, but we urge you to let our attendance office know, and then we can mark that on their portal, and then you can have a look at that attendance as well on the portal. Similarly with the punctuality, yes, the traffic can be bad at times in the morning around the area, but we want them here every day on time, straight into class, and then we know that's the best place for them to be. So 3 bullet points, but 3 really important ones, which, like I say, are the foundation of all that is good and great at Westlake Boys. I'm just going to move on. Our school website is a great resource for you. I've just hyperlinked it there. You've probably all seen it, but the top right-hand corner, report absence, the parent portal, and the calendar. They're 3 good links for you that you can click on. So if you want to report sickness, then you can click on there. The parent portal is a place where you can access a lot of information about your son. You can see their attendance. You can see attendance by period. So you can see whether they were late to class, on time, etc. In time, their reports will be on the portal. So when we have our mid-year and end-of-year reports, they'll be on the portal. And the more familiar you can get with that, the better, I suppose. Similarly, our school calendar is an up-to-date schedule of everything that's going on. It's very busy, the calendar, as it should be, and we want it as busy as possible, but it just means you can have a look at that and work out any potential clashes as you go. So that's the website, and there's 3 or 4 important things in the top right-hand corner. The portal, I've just hyperlinked that specifically here. You can have a look at it when I send the PowerPoint out. But on that portal, it tells you everything. You can find contact detail, reports, the NCA credits when they start getting them. The more you can interact with that, the better, and the more your sons can get used to that interface, the better. And it allows you to have some important conversations at home about their goals and aspirations. So that's an important little point. So yeah, hopefully I've kind of covered off how much we want to care for your son, how much we do care. But sometimes we don't want to play a guessing game. So we'd rather you gave us all of the information, and then we can make a plan, formulate a response, help. It becomes difficult when things are left for too long, and then we're trying to do some recovery work. So the more proactive we can be about the transition, the settling in period, and how they're getting along, please let those 2 deans know. And then, like I say, we meet all of the time, and we've got lots of people who can help. So that's belonging, connection, the portal, the website, all of that stuff. And then I'm going to hand over to Mrs. O'Graham now for the main part of why your sons come to school, which is their academics and the most important thing. And she's just going to talk a little bit about the curriculum and how it's structured. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. So as Mr. McBride took us through already, I am one of the deputy principals, and I have responsibility for the curriculum. So I'm going to explain what that looks like for Year 9s in particular, and then going on through the rest of the school years. Before I go on to the specifics of that, we do just want to talk a little bit about Teams. So we are a school that uses Microsoft Teams, and we rely on that for communication around everything that happens in school. For our day-to-day business, teachers will be sharing information on Teams, and the boys need to really be making the most of access to those Teams. There'll be lots of information shared there for lessons, for homework, for schedules and things like that. You can see here with this screenshot, there's also some of the clubs use their teams to share information there. The other thing is, if there's any reason for your son to be off school, the first place that he should check is Teams and see what's happening with his class for that day, so that he doesn't miss out on too much and can keep up with that from home. So just to give you an overview of what happens in the Year 9 curriculum. So we're following the New Zealand national curriculum, and in Year 9 that means that they have a host of compulsory languages there. And you can see on the left-hand side those languages that, subjects that everybody gets, including languages being one of them. And then on the right-hand side, there's a selection of some other things that they will have some taster sessions of throughout the year. If you take a look at your son's timetable, it will probably appear a bit overwhelming to begin with, but this slide here tells you what each bit of that timetable tells you. So you can see a copy of his timetable on the portal. From there, you can find out who his tutor is, who his dean is, and who the senior leader is down at the bottom of the page, as Mr. McBride was referring to earlier. You can also see which teachers he has for each of those subjects. Now, that teacher code is quite important because you can email any of his teachers directly using that 3-letter code. So if you look at the bottom of the screen right now, it can tell you how to do that. So if you do the 3-letter code followed by @westlake.school.nz, you can contact any of his teachers at any time if you want to check on how he's doing. Then just to look ahead, what we have happening in Year 10 is, again, some compulsory subjects for the junior school, the usual things of English, maths, science, and social studies. They continue to do a language at Year 10, and then we give them some education around media and society, finance and society, PE, and well-being. And then they get the chance to select some options. So on the right-hand side of the screen here, you can see some of the options that we offer for Year 10. And around about August this year, they'll be sent some information about how they can go about making their selections about the subjects that they would like to take on in Year 10 as those optional ones. When we get into the senior school from Year 11, the timetable gets a little simpler for them. They just take 6 subjects. And there's some compulsory ones that are done in Year 11 that are English, maths, and then either a science or a technology. And then they have free choice for the other 3. From Year 12 and 13, they can take any 6 of the subjects that we have at level 2 and then level 3 respectively. And then, as was mentioned earlier, this is our core business of helping our boys achieve their very best results that they can. And as a sign of that, just last year, we got pass rates of 99% at level 1, 97% at level 2, and 98% at level 3. I think that's important that boys know that right from Year 9, that's the level that we're aiming at, and we will help them to get there. We have some additional pathways and support available for students that fit into those different categories. So the first one is extension classes. So where boys are succeeding at a very high level academically, they will be placed into those extension classes that can give them a little bit more of a push, get a bit more breadth to the courses that they're covering alongside doing the national curriculum. For students that have some specific learning needs or are recognised as being in need of a bit of additional support, they will be referred to the Learning Centre. And many of our Year 9 boys will have already made contact with our fabulous staff down at the Learning Centre to be able to get some support for their learning and make sure that they're having a positive journey with us. We've got ESOL support for those for whom English is a second language. And then some of the other more unique programs that we have within Westlake, we have Academy of Sport for the top performing sportsmen at our school. We have Music Institute for the top performing musicians. And then we also have some special virtute and Takari classes for the boys who are Maori and Pacifica, and they can go into those particular virtute groups that have a special flavour to them. Just this year as well, we've introduced the Maori immersion class, the Te Rumaki class, where they are completing half of their classes in full Terreo immersion. Some of the important dates that are coming up. So we've got exams that happen in year 9 and 10. And this will be some of the biggest exams that the boys have ever taken. They won't have been used to doing them in quite such a formal setting. So it is worth noting that these happen throughout the year at 2 big points. So the first one is the mid-year exams that happen in week 4 of term 2. They will do an exam in most of their subjects, and those exams are 1.5 hours long. And then at the end of year exams in November, that's week 6 of term 4, they will again do another set of exams in their main subjects, and those exams are 2 hours long. Now, we use those exams to check on their progress, to report back home to you and let you know how they're doing, and also to decide on placement in extension classes for the boys that want to apply to be in those top academic groups. And finally, from me, just letting you know how we go about reporting that information back to you. So we have 3 stages of reports. The first one will be coming out to you fairly soon, and it's a simple progress report that just lets you know how he's settling in each of his subjects, so that if there's anything bubbling up and he's not quite settled into the routines and things, we can identify that early and work with him to get back on track and have a successful time with us. We then have the mid-year report that comes out after those mid-year exams and lets you know how he's done on those significant formal assessments that he's done then. And then we do the same again at the end of year. After he's completed those exams, you'll get a final report on the last day of the year. Coming up, we have the Parents' Evening, which is scheduled for the 24th of March. And unfortunately, it is looking like that's not going to be something we can do on site. So we will most likely be doing that online, and we'll send you out some information about what that looks like and how you can engage with us to do that. If you have any questions around curriculum, you are welcome to contact me, and I'll be happy to answer them and provide any further guidance there. And with that, I will hand back to Mr. McBride.
Thank you. We're just going to keep the pace up. I know it's there's a lot being thrown at you, but you will, like I say, you'll get this presentation and the recording as well if you want to go back through anything. So I'm just here now to talk a little bit about sport. If we were in person now in the auditorium, the director of sport would be there, some of our top coaches, and you'd be having a little bit more of an in-depth chat around sport. But what I want to let you know is it is a fully functioning big part of our school, and we love it. We love to see the boys putting their shirt on, putting their jersey on, getting on the court, getting on the grass, whatever it may be, and competing for our school. And most of our sports, I think we offer 31 sports now in our school, which is a lot. We've got well over 1,800 boys, I think it was last year, competed for Westlake in a sport. Some do 2, some do 3, some do 4. The more the better for our juniors sometimes. But what I really want to let you know is that it's a big deal. We take it seriously, and it's a lot of fun as well. So whether your son is wanting to try something for the first time, whether he sees a future career in sport, whatever it may be, whether he's a top performer, whether, like I say, he's just trying something that he's never done before, we want your son involved. If they're involved in sport, they have a ready-made friendship group. They have boys who've got shared interests. They have coaches who really look out for them and care for them. And they get the privilege of, like I say, competing all across the city, and sometimes all across the country. And then when we can travel again, doing some tours internationally, which are fantastic as well. So we want them involved really from the start. What you can see in front of you is kind of a little bit about our vision and value for sport. So along the bottom are some of our vision statements. I won't go through them, but you can read them at your leisure when you get this presentation. And at the top is a hyperlink to our website called Sporty. So Sporty, it's a part of the main school website, but it can also stand alone at this link I put up for you. On that particular website is all of the sports that we offer, how you get signed up, how you pay your fees, when the fixtures are. Some of that, obviously, it's not as settled and straightforward year like we know, but as much as we possibly can do this year, we're going to do. So we are going to put on as much sport as we can, both internally, and externally, and we'll make it a really positive experience for your sons as best we can. So we want them involved. There'll be things on that list. There'll be sports maybe they've never even heard of before. But if they see something that grabs their attention, get on the website, have a look at when the trials are, have a look at when the fees need paid and all that sort of stuff. That'll get you in our system. And then our director of sports, some of our sports coordinators, our coaches, will be able to communicate directly with you. And like I said, the more they can do in year 9, dive into it head first, and they'll achieve so much and they'll enjoy it so much. Even now, there's running from, I think they go out at 7 in the morning. There's about well over 100 boys run every day. There's rowing that starts at 5 in the morning for our seniors. There's stuff on the grass, there's stuff on the turf. We're starting getting going as best we can. So please encourage your son to get involved. It's all on the daily notices, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But sport is something we passionately believe in, and we know it gives them so many skills beyond the sports field. Similarly, our music program, if you get the privilege to hear our choirs sing live in person, please take it. They are phenomenal. To hear 70 boys in a choir singing in cathedrals and auditoriums and all over the country is something really special. And our director of music and his staff are phenomenal. They regularly take out some of the top awards at festivals around the country, and we're very, very proud of them. So I think there's information currently in the daily notices about choirs and music and bands and orchestras. So please, if you get the chance to look at that, if your son is that way inclined at all, whether it's he just wants to give it a go or whether it's something he's passionately committed to, at either end of that spectrum, we want to hear from them and we want to support them. It's a big deal, music at our school, and it's such a special part of what we do as well, and adds so much to the fabric of our school. Again, twinned with that is our drama staff and our productions. These are just some shots from Les Miserables, which we did we shared that with the girls' school a couple of years ago. Again, something that boys really can dive into head first and really enjoy. They've got a ready-made friendship group. They're such supportive groups, the drama groups, and they really ignite a bit of a passion in some of our boys. So we'd urge them to get involved in anything that's going on in the drama rooms, from the smallest plays that we do and little impromptu stuff, all the way through to our big productions. Again, that hyperlink is there for you, and it'll give you a flavor of what we're planning this year and what we've done in years previous. So that's something you can maybe chat to your sons about. And I understand at this point, it probably feels a little bit overwhelming. There's sport, there's music, there's drama, there's academics. We try and pull that all into one place, which is our daily notices. And I wrote to you earlier in the term, explaining how we do that. So every morning between 8 and 8:05, your boys will get an email they'll get an email to their school inbox, and that will be the notices for the day. This is just a snapshot of what was on Monday. It was about 3 pages long, but I could only fit the first kind of couple of sections on there. So you'll see everything that's on there. You can check it every day, or we'd like the boys to check it every day. You could also check it if you want to. It's on the school website. And then this link here, we've got a bit.ly website /WB Today. That will give you the up-to-the-minute daily notices. So obviously it changes every day, but we will always try and get things on at least 2 or 3 days in advance. So for example, if you look at, let's have a look, senior tag. So the trials are on, they're on today, but that was in the notices for 3 or 4 days before that, so the boys can get prepared. The more they can look at daily notices, the better they can get organized. And then it means they're not missing out on something that they really want to do. So we'd urge them to get involved with that. And that's about it for now. I thought we'd finish this bit at about 6:45. So at 6:43, I think I'm doing all right. But what we can do now is hand over for a few questions. So I think if I can just get the other laptop there, Becky. So I think I can probably answer a lot of these as we go. And if I can't answer them, then Mr. Ferguson will come on camera, or Mrs. O'Graham, and they can answer them. So a question about seeing the deans. Good question about, does a referral from a dean automatically trigger a notification to parents? Often it will. It all depends on what the matter was. If, for example, a boy was marked late to class and our deans saw a bit of a pattern emerging, as an example, they would call that boy out of class, they'd discuss it. If it was an issue that they could solve immediately, then there would probably be no need to get in touch with you directly. Obviously, your boys might want to talk to you about that, but that would be something we could fix straight away. If it was a bigger, more significant issue, then we would definitely be in touch. Ideally, we'd give you a call, or we would send you an email, but we would definitely want to report back to you as quickly as possible. Similarly, we may want to ask you to come in to meet with us to formulate a bit of a plan. And second to that, if it's an issue that you've raised with the dean, then obviously please keep those lines of communication going. So I suppose there's not one single answer. I couldn't say yes, every 48 hours we'll be in touch or something like that. But we know that issues get solved in our school when home, school, and your son, we're all working in partnership. So we want that dialogue and that communication. So please be rest assured, if we need to get in touch with you, we will do that as quickly and as swiftly as possible. And we urge you to get in touch with us as quickly as possible, because we know that if we can get onto things early, then we've got a much greater chance of solving it pretty quickly and efficiently. So that's that one. Just a question about roadworks and pickups and drop-offs and it being a little dangerous. It is, and we've had to obviously look into that. What you've got a situation at the moment where 2,500 boys leave from one of 3 exits all at the same time. There's buses pulling up, there's traffic on the roads. So we have closed those car parks, and we will continue to keep them closed because the boys are leaving through the car parks on foot, and we think cars traveling through at the same time is not much of a recipe for success, and boys are crossing roads and things like that. So we would urge, if you are picking up your son, either to leave it, if you can leave it for till say 3:20, 3:25, when all of the boys have gone, that would be helpful. Or if you can find maybe an alternative pickup point a couple of streets away, or down the road or up the road, that would be really helpful to support us in keeping all of the boys safe. So yeah, the car parks are closed and they're going to remain closed. We've got some education to do on a daily basis. We're talking to the boys about being safe on the road. Some boys come in on scooters and bikes, and they using the crossings and all that sort of thing. So the less cars crammed around, the better, I suppose, and we want to keep it as safe as possible. So that's that one. Yeah, the link for daily notices, yes, you will get it. You get it on the school website. You can see it now. It's also in the portal. And then when I send out this presentation tomorrow morning, it's on there as well. And then your boys can obviously forward you the emails that they get. Students' use of devices. So we prefer them not to be honest. We'd like them to be getting a bit of fresh air, playing with their friends, being active, getting on the turf, shoot a few basketball hoops around the place. We know they need to let off a bit of steam. If they urgently need to get some work done, then yeah, of course, they can be on their computers around the campus, but we probably wouldn't want that to happen. I think there's enough going on in classrooms. They need a little bit of fresh air. Mobile phones is obviously a different story. We don't want the boys sat on their phones, messaging, gaming, whatever, from the moment the first bell goes to the moment that the bell finishes at 3:10. We think the phones are probably best turned off and in their bags. So we would urge them to just be a bit more active and out there rather than being on their devices, if at all possible. A teacher may ask your son to get his phone out and maybe take a picture of the board and stuff, but that is really the only time they should be on their phones. It's not really a productive thing for them to be using them. So the pulse questions asked in the classroom are emailed. They're emailed, so the boys get a check-in. They follow that check-in. Let's have a look. I'll keep going. Got quite a few coming in. Yeah, if boys arrive early on a Thursday morning, yes, the library is open. They can go there. They can definitely hang out and do some work there. Yeah, if your son is struggling in maths or whatever for tuition, I would speak to the teacher first. So email the teacher. They might have some resolutions, some quick fixes that they can give you, and then or some further advice. That's that one. And then we do have a peer tutor program where senior boys put their hand up to tutor some of our boys, and that will start later this term. Yep, that'll be later on this term. So boys can get tutored by someone who's been through the same course as them. I'll keep going. An easy one. When we say a via tutor to carry, we mean their tutor. So their tutor, the relationship between the boy and the tutor is a really positive one. We want it to be as strong as possible. That's a small group of, like I said, 16 to 18 boys. They meet their tutor twice a week, and it's their tutor that we feel they should be going to with any concerns in the first instance. So that's a strong relationship we want them to have. Ideally, if it works well and all goes smoothly, then your son would have the same tutor for the full 5 years that he's here. That's not an exact science, unfortunately, but it would be nice to see that happen. And I think it will happen for a large majority of boys. And then after 5 years, they will have a very, very strong relationship, which is exactly what we want. Yeah, my son tells me this field is closed at lunchtime and they can't play sport. Doesn't sound right to me. Doesn't sound right to me either. I was on duty today. There was about 500 boys on the grass, having a great time, kicking balls around and playing. So that's definitely not the case, unless he was trying to get on the cricket wicket, and that's a different story. That is closed, but that's the only place we don't want them on at the moment. Just gonna have a look at a few more. They're coming in thick and fast. In the car parks. Devices I've done. No, we aren't using the data from those apps for any other purpose. It's just solely for the well-being check-in. That's that one. That's an easy one. Yep, so over the course of year 9, they will get exposed to all aspects of the curriculum. Some will be on rotation, but they will get a good sense of building that breadth that we want in year 9 and year 10. That allows them to kind of find out what they're really interested in. And then when they have to make some option choices in 11, 12, and 13, they're a little more informed of that. So they will get exposed to lots of parts of the curriculum. I'll leave the timetable about Thursday mornings. I'll let Mrs. O'Graham answer that one. Yes, I will be sharing the recording. That's absolutely fine. And yeah, I think that's all the questions for now. We've got another 5 minutes or so, but I'll hand over to Mrs. O'Graham. She'll talk about how the late start works with the timetable, and how that links to the, you might want to mention tutor time as well.
Yeah. So yeah, on a Thursday, the boys will just simply skip period 1, and it rotates through, because we run a 6-day cycle. It means that it's not hitting the same lesson every time. It'll be the same lesson roughly every 6 weeks. So on a Thursday morning, they just go straight to period 2, which is at the same time as it would have been for Tuesday through to Thursday. And they run their lessons from period 2 through to period 6 as normal. Then on the Friday, period 2, they also have a slight change to their timetable, where they go to their virtute tutor that we were talking about earlier, that tutor that stays with them throughout their time at Westlake, and they participate in a program around issues that are important for their year level. So that's, yep, that answers the question about timetabling, I think. I'll just see if there was anything else. Somebody asked about the recording. I'm not sure if did you cover that? This is being recorded and it will be shared later. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Right, I think that answers pretty much everything we've got in. It's been a pleasure to share a lot about our school. I think you can tell it's big, it's busy, there's lots going on. I think it's the best place to be if you're a teenage boy, is at this school. It's a phenomenal place, and we want to play our part in helping your son be a success in whatever way that shape or form that comes. So please, please, if I can leave you with one message tonight, it's connect with us, stay in touch with us, and let us know how your son's doing. And we want them to feel that strong sense of belonging. So I think that's all for tonight. Have a pleasant rest of the evening. I'll get this recording will go in the Green Stripe Blazer on a link, and I will email the presentation to you directly as well. So thank you very much for your attendance, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you. Bye.